The family of a Trader Joe's manager killed during a standoff visits the store for an emotional candlelight vigil in her honor. We're still waiting for ballistic test results to find out who fired that fatal shot that killed the employee.
That's right. Was it the suspect or LAPD? CBS 2's Chris Holmstrom is live in Silver Lake right now with the investigation and the latest on the vigil held tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Mely Corado's family spent most of the evening out here. They had a chance to see just all of the community support. I mean, take a look behind me. They also had a chance to meet with the employees and also, most importantly, to celebrate her life. An emotional gathering at the Silver Lake Trader Joe's. Family members of Mely Corado showing up to this growing memorial just 2 days after she was killed. Monday night, they lit candles in her memory. While they didn't want to talk on camera, her brother had a few words to share. He talked about how much he misses his sister and how much she was loved, and described her as a force of nature. It was Saturday afternoon. Police say 28-year-old Gene Atkins shot his grandmother in her South L.A. home. He then kidnapped his girlfriend and took her on a high-speed chase. The pursuit ended in Silver Lake, where police say he crashed his car and then ran inside the store. They say that's when they exchanged gunfire with Atkins. Corado was shot and killed, but at this point we don't know if it was by Atkins or police. After an hours-long hostage situation, Atkins surrendered and was booked on suspicion of murder. Deshaun Hayward is Atkins' cousin. He says the whole family is in shock. As for his grandmother, Mary Madison, she suffered multiple gunshot wounds and remains in the hospital in critical but stable condition.
So our love and our sympathy and our remorse to everybody that had, that was affected by this situation.
Nearby businesses also sending their support. Longtime shop Hyperion Gelato will be hosting a 2-week-long fundraiser starting Tuesday. 20% of all proceeds will go to the Corado family.
We are so sorry that you paid such a horrible price.
And a GoFundMe account has been set up for the family. So far, they've raised more than $30,000. As for the investigation, it's still ongoing. Reporting live from Silver Lake, I'm Chris Holmstrom, CBS 2 News.
Chris, thank you. Now to the dangerous heat wave in Southern California.
And this is just the beginning. People in the valley tried to cool down tonight with frozen yogurt in Woodland Hills. And some bars and restaurants tried to lure customers with misters in Studio City.
You walk through it and you want to stand there for a second. You're expecting to get some, cool water on you, but it's not really doing anything.
And remember, these conditions create an increased potential for serious heat-related illness.
And if you're going to head to the coast to cool off, beware of those conditions there as well. High surf advisories in effect through Wednesday. We're told to expect strong rip currents and sneaker waves, which can be dangerous for swimmers. Could also be minor flooding in some places. Heat wave is just getting started, and CBS 2's Garth Kemp is here now with more. Garth, what's the latest?
Yeah, Jeff, well, here we go. The beginning of it. We warmed up today even more than what we thought. Good evening, everybody. 75 degrees right now. Going to get these warm, sultry kind of evenings. Not so much sultry. I should just say warm. Air is pretty much dry out there compared to what we have seen with some of the humidity rolling through the area. But, boy, it is mild out there. Look at San Bernardino for the IE. Our friends out there, 86. Riverside, 84. Fullerton, 75. Oxnard's nice, 68. The sea breeze there, still 85 up into the high deserts. 73 down to the airport, and Irvine right now coming in at 74 degrees as well. There's a change from 24 hours ago, except for a few spots. We're almost a half dozen degrees warmer. All right, we'll talk about the heat warnings and how long this is going to last, how hot it's going to get, coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you guys.
Well, as those temperatures go up, power sometimes goes out. We've seen a number of small outages already tonight. CalISO has declared a flex alert for tomorrow and Wednesday. We're all being asked to conserve electricity from 5 to 9 p.m. both of those days. Crystal?
A new twist tonight in a story that made national headlines. A high school student from Palos Verdes Estates was arrested in connection with a South L.A. murder back in October. But now a jury cleared him. He was accused of driving that getaway car. CBS 2's Tom Wade is live in downtown where the case was decided. Tom.
And Crystal, tonight I can tell you a lot of the reasons why this captured national attention is because this case was so much about race and privilege. And tonight, Cameron Terrell is a free man for the first time in months.
I'm just happy to be free. I'm happy this is over with.
A relieved Cameron Terrell speaks out moments after a jury cleared him of attempted murder charges in connection with the killing of Justin Holmes in October of last year. Terrell drove the car to and from the shooting in South L.A. His attorneys argued Terrell did not know he was driving to what would be the scene of a murder. The jury believed them.
I talk to God every day, and God knows all my sins. So I don't have to explain myself to anyone. God knows what really happened that day, and God knows what was in my head that day. So.
Cameras were not allowed in the courtroom when the verdict was read. Family members of the victim, Justin Holmes, were inside but left without comment. Meanwhile, 2 black juveniles are awaiting trial for the killing and remain locked up. Community activist Melvin Farmer says issues of race and wealth helped save Terrell from serving time. Terrell is from Palos Verdes Estates. His family paid his $5 million bail and legal bills.
2 black juveniles are probably facing a life sentence to where an adult took them to do something where he should have been held responsible just as much.
Before leaving court, Terrell had this message for the Holmes family.
Rest in peace, Justin Holmes. He shouldn't have died that day, and I pray for his family every night. This been weighing on me every single day of my life. So.
Terrell is 18 years old and he has graduated from high school. His attorney says his next plan is to go to college and then on to law school. Reporting live downtown, I'm Tom Waite, CBS 2 News.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Breaking news now from Oakland. Police confirm they've now captured a murder suspect after a stabbing at a BART transit station. The arrest comes as activists marched through the streets of Oakland to honor the victim and call for justice. The deadly attack happened last night. Police believe it was random. An 18-year-old woman was killed, her older sister injured. The suspect is identified as 27-year-old John Cowell, a parolee convict who served time for robbery.
And now to this story tonight. A man who made a name for himself in the 90s as a host on MTV is tonight missing. Investigation is centered in Southern California. Jesse Camp's family is using social media now to try to spread the word. And CBS 2's Tina Patel is live in Fontana where he was last seen. Tina?
Yeah, the former VJ may have been living on and off in the Inland Empire. Someone here answered his cell phone recently saying that Camp had given the phone to him. Now friends are turning to police and, as you said, social media looking for some answers.
Coming out here to LA.
Jesse Camp rose to fame in the 1990s, winning a contest to become an MTV VJ. Not only did he get to interview some of the biggest stars of the time, he also got to put out his own music and videos. He wasn't seen as much publicly in recent years, but he still kept in close contact with friends and family around the country until earlier this month. They reached out to police and filed a missing persons report last week.
His kind of routine, almost nightly contact with some family members ceased about a week prior. So they were starting to get worried.
According to police, Camp had some minor run-ins with the law in the Inland Empire over the past couple years. Just last Thursday, before the missing persons report was filed, an officer with Fontana Police contacted him behind this shopping center in an area frequented by homeless people.
And that's the impression he had was maybe Mr. Camp was possibly living out of a car and on the streets.
Monica Garcia works nearby. She didn't recognize Camp's photo, but hates to think someone who once had it all might be in trouble now.
It's sad to see and to hear.
Garcia says substance abuse is an issue for many in this area.
Honestly, I think they're addicted to drugs, so they can't get nothing. They fall behind.
Police don't know if Camp might be fighting addiction, but they hope they can find him to see if he needs help.
It's not against the law to not talk to your family. So if he doesn't want to, that's okay. We just want to make sure we can get word to his family that he's doing okay.
Now, police are not sure if Camp is still in the Inland Empire. That's why they say if anyone sees him or knows where he is, to contact their local police department. Live in Fontana, Tina Patel, CBS 2 News.
President Trump tonight is launching a new battle over air quality. This week, the administration is expected to introduce regulations that are less restrictive and specifically target California. Miles per gallon requirements would be frozen and emission standards would likely be then downgraded.
It's been the most damaging that we've seen in probably 50 years when it comes to efforts to roll back regulations that protect public health, roll back regulations that protect the environment.
Meanwhile, the automotive industry is caught in the middle. Car makers fear the changes could create one standard for California and another for the rest of the country, complicating the process and raising costs for manufacturers.
And after weeks of tense protests, Disneyland Resort and the union representing park employees reached a contract agreement. Many employees claimed they were earning poverty-level wages. Terms of the tentative deal between the park and the union representing more than 9,000 workers were not released. They hope to have it ratified later this week.
Well, coming up here on CBS2, a couple walking their dog 1 minute, the next robbed at gunpoint. Police say that's where the crime spree began.
What gives them the right to do this again?
Sued by MGM, anger and outrage from families of loved ones killed in the Las Vegas mass shooting.
A Korean War veteran thought he was getting a wheelchair ramp outside his house, but then he says the VA canceled the job without telling him about it. So now he's asking two on your side for help.
Hi, everybody. I'm Garth, camped out by the airport. Nice shot out there. It's hot out for the next several days. I'll tell you about it coming up.
And we're calling this a beauty shop blunder. Workers duck for cover when a Tesla slams into an Orange County business.
And here's a look at the guests tonight on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Former Attorney General Eric Holder makes a big announcement about a possible run for president.